Mark Twain: A Child's Biography by Mark Twain. This biography of Mark Twain, whose given name was Samuel Clemens for children, was excerpted from Mary Stoyle Simpson's book, A Child's Book of American Biography. Adds over 100 years to Miss Simpson's time reference when you read it with your own children. So, let's begin. John Clemens, Samuel's father, was a farmer, merchant, and postmaster in a Missouri town called Florida. His wife, Jane Clemens, was a strict, busy woman who liked to get her work out of the way and then have a real frolic. Her husband did not know what it means to flirt. He wasn't very well to begin with, and when he had any spare time, he sat by himself figuring away on an invention, year after year. He spent a good deal of time, too, thinking what fine things he would do for his family when he sold a great tract of land in Tennessee. He had bought 75,000 acres of land when he was much younger for just a few cents an acre, and when that land went up in price, he expected to be pointed out as a millionaire, at least. John Clemens was a good man, and something of a scholar, but he wasn't the least bit merry. His children never saw him laugh, once in a whole life. Think of it. Mrs. Clemens didn't like to have any one around when he was bustling through the housework, so the six children spent the days roaming through the country, picking nuts and berries. When it came night, and they had their supper, they would crowd round the open fire and cook Jenny, a slave girl, or Uncle Ned, a clerk from hand, to tell them stories. Uncle Ned was a famous storyteller. When he described witches and goblins, the children would look over their shoulders as if they half expected to see the car creations in the room. All the stories began once upon a time, but each one ended differently. One of the children, Sam Clemens, admired Uncle Ned's stories, so that he couldn't hardly wait for evening to come. Sam was a delicate child. The neighbors used to shake their hands and declare he would never like to be a man, and everyone always spoke him as Little Sam. When Mr. Clemens moved to another town some distance away, the mother said instantly, "Well, Hannibal may be all right for your business, but Florida agrees so well with Little Sam that I shall spend every summer here with the children, on the careless farm." The children were glad she helped to display for Miss Carlos, laugh and joke with them, build them high swings, let them ride in on teams, and go on horseback and tumble in the hayfields all they wished. They had so much fun in exercise that they were even willing to go to bed without any stories. Some grief laughed. A funny thing happened the first summer they went to Mr. Carlos, Mr. Clemens, with the other children, the new baby, and Jenny went on ahead in a large wagon. Sam was asleep. Mr. Clemens was to wait until he woke up and then was to carry him on horseback to join the rest. Well, as Mr. Clemens was waiting for Sam to finish his nap, He got to thinking of his invention or his Tennessee land, and presently he saddled and bridled the horse and rode away, without him. He never thought of Sam again until his wife said, as he reached the careless dooryard, "Where is the little Sam? Why, why he's trampled! I must have forgotten him." Of course he was ashamed of himself, and hurried a man off to Hannibal, on a swift horse, where Sam was found hungry and frightened, wandering through the log toss. Sam was sent to school when he was 5. He certainly didn't like to study very well, but did learn to be a fine reader and speller. At the age of 9, Sam was a good swimmer, although he came very near being drowned three different times while he was learning, and loved the river so that he was be found on its shore almost an hour of the day. He loved to travel by steamer. Once he ran away and did hid on board one until it was well down the river. As soon as he showed himself to captain, he was put ashore, his father was sent for, and he received a weeping that he remembered a long time. At 9 he had a head rather too large for his body, and it looked even bigger because he had such a lot of waving sandy hair. He had fine grey eyes, a slow, drawling voice, and said such droll things that the boys listened to everything he said. His two best chums were Will Bowen and John Briggs. These three friends could run like deer, and what time they were not fishing or swimming they usually spent in a cave which they had found. At 12 he was just a careless, happy, barefoot boy, often in mischief, and only excelling in two things at school. He won the weekly medal for spelling, and his compositions were so funny that the teachers and pupils used to laugh till the tears came, when they were read aloud. His teachers said he ought to train himself for a writer, but it didn't seem to him that there was anything so noble or desirable in this world as being a pilot, and he loved the great Mississippi River better than any place he had known or could imagine. Sam's father died, whispering, "Don't sell the Tennessee land. Hold, hold on to it, and you will all be rich." After his death Sam learned the printer's trade. He was very quick in setting type and accurate, so that he soon helped his older brother start a newspaper. He worked with his brother until he was 18, and then he told his mother that he wanted to start out for himself in the world. Jane Clemens loved him dearly and hated to part with him, but when she saw his heart was set going, she took up a testament and said, "Well, Sam, you may try it, but I want you to take hold of this book and make me a promise. I want you to repeat after me this verse. I do solemnly swear that I will not throw a card or drink a drop of liquor while I am gone." He repeated these words after her, bade her goodbye, and went to St. Louis. He meant travel, and as he earned enough by newspaper work, he visited New York, Philadelphia, and was on his way to South America when he got the chance to be a pilot on the Mississippi River. While he was learning this trade, he was happier than he had ever been in his life. If you want to know what happened to him at this time, you must read a book he wrote, Life on the Mississippi River. He wrote a great many books and signed whatever he wrote with queer name, Mark Twain. This was an old term used by pilots to show how deep the water is where they throw the land. His writings, like his boyish compositions, made people laugh, so that now, although he has been dead several years, whenever the name of Mark Twain is mentioned, a smile goes around. If you want to know more about the actual doings of Sam and his chums, Will Bowen and John Briggs, read Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. For, for in these books, Sam has set down a pretty fair account of their escapades. Mr. Clemens had a wife and children of whom he was very fond, as he made much money from his books and lectures. They were all able to travel in foreign countries, and his best book of travel is Innocent Abroad. It seems to me that even his father would have laughed over that book. Speaking of his father, again reminds me to tell you that the Tennessee Land never brought any luxuries to the Clemens family. It was sold for less than the taxes had amounted to.